Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I'm Daniel Chamberlain, here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Another fantastic day. It's another off season. Although I do miss ball. Football's over. But, we're still pushing forward, doing things, getting stuff done.
I'm getting ready to go to my first clinic of the year, so it's kind of getting going. I've always thought that February should be like this huge month because of very busy, and it's just never, for me, it never really is. It's like the calm before the storm. But just it's the end of basketball season, so there's that kind of stuff going on.
It is a good month to learn. I don't know about trying to jump into new stuff, though. I think a lot of guys have probably ironed out their spring ball schedule by now, if they get spring ball.
Right.
So they probably bought all their new toys and gadgets in that December timeline.
There's
Clinics,
phases.
yes.
There's
Glaciers, is hitting really big right now. I think they're on their, I don't know how many weeks, which, we're 2 weeks in the future. So, yeah, I hope as coaches are doing something to better themselves right now, though. And even if you're not buying product, by the way, you should go buy product, especially at joedanielfootball.com, because literally 10 years of experience in my first couple of years of being a coach. But I started writing. That's my the Headsets magazine that Kenny does. I have just fallen in love with writing articles.
Yep.
Because I'm looking for my niche like every coach is. And I talked to two of the best X's and O's guys that I know out there with you and Kenny. And it's like, I can't be another X and O guy because y'all got that covered. What am I going to do? Talk about the same stuff that y'all taught me in the last 2 years? That doesn't make sense. But the leadership side, I'm really starting to see how it's not talked about. No one's out there teaching coaches how to be leaders. So I've really just started writing about that. And it's nice to go back and refresh myself. And then try to tie those worlds. I'm always tying the military world and the civilian world. So it's really nice to have a medium to do that with the writing articles. And maybe I'll tackle a book in the next 12 months. I don't know. But just getting the flow of the writing down. I mean, your emails as well, right? The doing emails and stuff for the athletic speed movement. It's all a big part of that. But yeah, so hopefully coaches are doing something. What clinic are you going to?
Going to, as you know, the new clinics, the playbook clinics. This is going to be in Charlotte, and I'm excited. It is I'm looking at the speaker lineup, and for those, obviously this clinic is this weekend, so it'll already have passed. But for anyone looking for clinics, I believe this is fairly early. I think they're going through March, if I'm not mistaken. I think they've got clinics going a little bit. And they started in January. They've got clinics going up through Phoenix, so they're new, so they're only doing one at a time. Minneapolis,
which is better anyway.
Minneapolis in March, Denver, Madison, I guess Wisconsin, and then Phoenix, which I've always wanted to go out to Phoenix. I don't know why I haven't done it yet.
I mean,
but
I will be where you're living then, so I won't be able to.
Yeah,
won't be able to go to Phoenix.
Oh, okay, yeah. What am I? But much more high school oriented, and not that I don't enjoy, and I do enjoy a lot of the I don't care as much about the college guys, but I do enjoy a lot of the guys that have been Glacier speakers for years. I enjoy Pat Fogg, obviously Rick Stewart, and then those kinds of guys. But I'm looking for some new. I like the high school guys. I like some new stuff, and Glacier is doing the things that get people in the door. It's a business. Right. Not that Playbook's not running it as a business either, but I like it's high school heavy. So I'm excited about that. My head coach is speaking on turning a program around on Friday night. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to be running his PowerPoint projector or whatever,
Next slide.
Yeah. Excited to go back to that one. No. That'll be great. So I don't think I'm actually running his PowerPoint, but
You should try anyway.
I might. That's where I'm at in my clinic life.
It is pretty neat to get to see people or work with do these bigger clinics, because there is a little validity to like listening to a guy that spoke, even if it's getting watered down. I've heard people say like all you have to do is apply at Glacier now, and they're going to give you a spot. It doesn't. There's no vetting to know what you know.
Oh, I don't
But,
know. I mean,
but we had remind me his name. We had him on a couple weeks ago. The one that I missed, 95%.
Oh, Mike Carter.
Thank you. We had Mike Carter on. He's talking about the Glaciers and how it all got started, and there is still a lot of.
I would love to go back. Like so many things.
Well, it sounds like the Playbook Clinic. Maybe that's exactly what it's going to be, right?
I don't know. It's going to be that, but might be more high school and maybe more focused. But yeah. I mean, these things are clinics are. It's a business. Same as this is a business. So we've talked about before. People, when you first started coming on the podcast, and they said, "Look, this is marketing. It's fun. I like doing it, but if it doesn't drive anybody to come buy JDFB memberships, it's a waste of time." It's the same thing for them. Like, it's great to have fun speakers that everybody wants to hear, but if it doesn't get people in the door and it doesn't get, which gets exhibits, as goofy as we talked about the AFCA, as much goofy stuff as there is on that exhibit floor, there's a lot of it. And that's the money of the AFCA.
Yeah.
It's not, the AFCA is not anymore just a chance for college coaches to get together. That's a lot of money on that floor.
I don't know what I think the little booths are like 8,500 or something. So
yeah,
some of those guys had 8 booths worth of space. I mean, that's
right. I mean, some of them, are running their own clinic basically in a space, and
yeah,
that's the business part of it.
Well, glad you're getting back out to a clinic. You can just write down how they do it, and we'll just copy paste that at some point.
Sure.
So tonight we are discussing a little bit of 2-minute offense or 2-minute drill, or whatever you want to name yours. So we're going to go through the whys, whats, and wheres and all that good stuff. Before we do, though, do you want to pay the bills here?
Yeah, go check out JDFB, and hopefully my sound's coming through because my little meter's not going. That'd be a real shame if we had no sound. The JDFB, go over to JDFB, go to joedanielfootball.com/rules and check out the 40 Coach Simple rules for football coaches who want to win more games. It is tips, tricks, tactics, strategies for football coaches to apply to your football team and win more football games. Offense, defense, special teams, some of the core, Coach Simple philosophy, things, levers and ASCA, and those core principles, some of the non-negotiables that we use by position. There's great stuff in there for coaches at any level. So go and check it out. Go to joedanielfootball.com/rules.
Awesome. All right, so we'll jump right into question 1 here. What is a 2-minute offense?
When we're talking 2-minute offense, we're talking the end of half or end of game, trying to put some points on the board before time runs out. So it is your hurry up, work the clock, get down the field, either get in the end zone or get in position to kick a field goal. For those of you lucky enough to have that option, get down the field quickly, control the clock, offensive attack.
Yeah, I always think about the change in mindset for game management when that happens, because realistically, you've probably at least attempted to save all of your timeouts for this timeline, or somebody did something stupid and you had to waste one along the way. And now that goes back into that, right? It's part of your game management. All right, so now we're down that one. How much time can we save? At what point are we just thrown to the sidelines? how long do you hang on to that last one, right? And so that's what I'm thinking about is the game management side, like you talked about, working the clock. I know a lot of people change play calls for their 2-minute drill, and then some guys are like, well, on defense, you always see do you go to prevent or you just use the thing that's been working all night?
Right.
And offense, it's kind of the same thing. Like if you're averaging 4.5, 5.5 yards a carry, and you can dink and dunk on behind it, or we're running RPO game or whatever it is that you're doing, there's almost no reason to go to just taking every play as a shot play at this point.
Yeah, no.
In fact, you may do the opposite. You may want to hit it short, let your guy get what he can get and get out of bounds where he can control the space he's in versus he's manned up and hoping he catches a ball on top of a defender who's going to tackle him anyway. So,
Yeah, and I think you see coaches sometimes who don't have a plan and they're just going to go out there and throw fade ball, fade ball, fade ball, fade ball.
Yeah.
And hope. And that can be a disaster because one of the things and my head coach, who again, is one of his strengths has been turning around more than one program and being part of more than one turnaround and knowing the situation and understanding, for example, hey, we're down 7-0 at the end of the first half. We've got the ball. There's 1:45 left. This team is 4 touchdowns better than us. We shouldn't be where we're at.
Right.
Quite frankly, they've made mistakes. We've controlled the ball. We haven't scored, but we haven't had disastrous turnovers. We've controlled field position. We are happy to be down 7-0 going into half. We're getting the ball at the beginning of the second half. And so going into this 2-minute drill, if we get the ball on our own 30 with 1:48 left or whatever it is, and we throw 3 fade balls, now there's 1:32 and we're punting the ball back to them.
Now they get a 2-minute drill.
Going into halftime down 14-0 is bad. So there's an element to this where you've got to know how you're going to execute the 2-minute drill, what you're going to do with the 2-minute drill. This is not Madden, where no matter what, I'm going to chuck it down the field and see what happens and go for it on 4th down because I'm trying to put some points on the board before half and just the hell with whatever happens. So what I will hear a lot of times as an offensive play caller from my head coach is, I don't care what happens. I want to be the last ones with the football.
Right.
I don't care what happens. Don't score. If we don't score, we don't score. But they are not going to score. And that some people may have this mentality that that's a mistake or whatever. And there are situations where but we're going to run plays that are safe in some situations. In other situations, it's let's go get it. Let's go after it. So you've got to evaluate the situation. But again, because of the fact that I'm coaching in the last few years at a school that is outmatched in a lot of cases, or underdogs, and trying to scrape and get wins where we could get wins. That first year, especially getting some moral victories, the 1 win a season, that before us, 4 wins in 3 years, the 3 years before we got there, hadn't had a winning season since 2007. And, we went 4-6, but there were a couple moral victories in there too, that were because of handling the clock and not just chucking fade balls. And that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen on, in that moment.
Yeah.
That's a plan. That's thought out. So, what is a 2-minute drill? It's an opportunity to score. I kicked the light stand. Okay, that's it is an opportunity to score before half, but it's not. It's you also have to be smart about it. Like it's not just. It's not we have to score. So that example, that entire example was based on end of half, right? We may also be in an end of game situation. Now, if you're losing, well,
Changes things.
it's right. If we're down 1 and we got a field goal kicker, down 2 and we got a field goal kicker, we're down 3 and we got a field goal kicker. That changes the situation. Now we're trying to get to, that little green line on the TV where they say this is where you can kick the ball, which is cute. We don't have that, and it's also way, way closer. If we don't have somebody who kick a field goal, we're trying to get in a position that we can try to score or be close enough to throw the ball at the end zone. It all depends on how much time we have left. Are we close enough that we can throw the ball into the end zone on the last play of the game? Give ourselves a chance. We're just trying to give ourselves a chance. So whereas if, obviously if you're winning, now it's a 4-minute drill. It's a completely different situation. If you're tied, it could be both. It could be either one. A lot of times when you're tied, it's if I'm tied and I'm on my own 30, I might be better off like going to overtime. So I might call a quarterback draw. I might call a screen. I might call a straight ahead run. And if it pops, you know, now
Look
we're
like a genius.
playing. We have safer shots at the end zone, and a better chance too of an interception on their own 10, on their 10. Like they're not going to do anything with it. To whereas when I was backed up, that that whole thing. So there's a lot of situation and a lot of thought, and I'll talk about that as well. But it's not just 2-minute drill is not just we got to go score.
You talked about having a plan. I know that we're going to discuss that in a minute, but y'all talked about your team being outmatched, and y'all used a little bit different plan to kind of solve that. As you started that turnaround, you used athletic speed movement, right, with Del Basquette, his program. And I know we talk about it on here a lot, but it is something that helps struggling programs turn it around. As you get better at coaching, and this game plan we're going to discuss tonight, help your kids get better at breaking, get the one that pops, get the one that helps you set up the victory or the getting into half. That we talked about the middle 8. I was talking, the 4 minutes before and after halftime. Winning those is crucial, but you can't do that if you don't win that final 4 or that final 2. So athletic speed movement, if you want to find out what that is, head over to athleticspeedmovement.com. What you're going to find there is Del Basquette's 46-year in development program. It is 12 weeks. Okay. It's got basically 3 core principles. You're going to learn that right off the bat. Actually, it's free. Price of your email, you're going to get those 3 core principles, and Dale's going to teach them to you yourself, or himself, I'm sorry. 12-week program. You can run it now. You buy it now. You start it. You can run it now, and you can almost get it in again before season starts. And then you can just carry it through the season. It is an in-season workout as well. Make some modifications as you need to. But yeah, you can jump over to athleticspeedmovement.com and sign up for that today. And that can be a part of your plan for just being better all around, just being a faster team this year. Talking about plans, so why do we need to have that plan for the 2-minute drill? Like, why is that so crucial to not go in just chucking the rock?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a plan because if you go in there and just again just throw fade ball, there's a lot of issues here. One is, let's assume that you are not a hurry up team. You have to get those calls in. So what is your plan to get those calls in? Because it can't huddle. If, a kid catches the ball and stays in bounds and doesn't get the first and all that sort of stuff, and the clock's running, we've got to be able to just get to the line. So I need to have a plan for how I'm going to get those calls in. I need to have a plan for who I want on the field. There's nothing more disastrous than getting to that critical moment in the game and I've got my, other receivers out there, right? We might have 1 or 2 dudes at receiver, and I look out there, and this has happened. It's happened to me. I look out there in a crucial situation, and oh my God, what is he doing out there? Like, Well, I'll give you an example. One of our rules, in some situations, in many situations, is if a kid runs a route over 20 yards, 25 yards, so we call fade. We want to get at least one. At least if a kid catches a long pass, we want to get them out, keep fresh kids in there. Now, that's because we're probably going to come back and run the ball again. And I don't want the guy who just had a 35-yard catch being responsible for now going and blocking a free safety. I'd rather have somebody fresh to go in and do that. And it's my job as the offensive coordinator to communicate if that's not the case. Leave him out there. We're going to throw it again. Well, when you get in 2-minute drill, you don't necessarily have time to communicate all those things because you're not huddling. You're not doing any of that. And you're in a hurry and it's chaos. And the receivers coach makes that swap because it's always been the rule. And, he's a young coach, he's just doing his job. And you're like, what?
Or the penalty, trying to work those guys.
Now is the time that he just needs to suck it up. Now, if he can't go, he can't go. So you communicate those. So you have a plan for that. Okay, this is when we stop rotating receivers. Had the same thing where a quarterback has a long run, right? And the next call, quarterback scrambles for a long run. And it's like the next call better not be sprint out or something. Like the next call needs to be hitch, where he's going to he's going to catch it, throw it, and he's going to throw it outside or throw it away or whatever, and go stand in the huddle, right? So a plan for how to use those. So I need to package my calls together. I need to go through my calls and figure out the things that I need to have in this package. It's a limited package. We usually have 5 plays that we want to run. Fairly limited. It is going to, then we need to have signals or words or whatever for them. Now, again, pistol power offense, we have signals, but I usually just use the words because we use numbers, right? We don't call it curl. So I can call 57, and unless we run 57 8 times, which we're not in that situation, then nobody's going to be like, oh, 57 is curl, obviously.
Not to mention, people are doing that on film to your signals. So you can't film words.
No. And you don't run enough 2-minute drill to where people are going to steal all of your, and you're going too fast for them to, I think, really get a ton out of it. But that's why I just don't worry about that stuff. Like if that's what I've got to go through, then that's when I'm going to step away. We huddle, so it's not a major concern 90% of the game. You're not stealing anything from us. We're going to huddle. But so yeah, you need to have a plan for, and then you need to have a plan for how you're going to use those calls. And we'll talk about what those calls are. But I'll tell you one of the things that I think is most important in our plan. And I think if you can do this, and again, I've worked with my head coach for years. He's very into time management. Like, I read the Homer Smith book and I was just like, oh, God, this is just the most boring. And of course, it doesn't all apply anymore too, but he's very into time management and managing the clock and managing the timeouts. And so what we get to do is, and I think this is the way to do it personally. As the offensive coordinator, I'm making the play calls. He's managing the clock. It was much harder now we were really good when I was head coach. I was head coach and offensive coordinator. We were really good. So most of the calls that I made, this never became a major issue. We only had really one. Now we had the end of halves, but we had so many running clocks and stuff. But we had really one game where we were in a 2-minute drill at the end of the game. And we had a shot at the end. We threw it in the end zone, didn't catch it. But it was really hard to manage that. because it was the head coach and the offensive coordinator. And, the experienced coach was defense coordinator. So he's
That's something that
that's
some
a
coaches
really big benefit if you can get it.
yeah, that's something some coaches may not think about. I can't remember who I talked with. It was about OU football, and Brent Venables is going his third or fourth year or whatever. They're talking about his first year. He was still in DC mode
Mm-hmm.
and couldn't manage the game because his offense out there, his OC, is doing his thing. And at that level, the ref will not take a timeout from anyone but the head coach unless
Mm-hmm.
you've written a 5-page paper on why they should accept a time from other people. So there was, he had to call the timeouts, and apparently that was a thing. So that's him learning curve for him, and that's going to be for any head coach out there. But if you're the defensive guy, now you're really at a disadvantage because you're trying to make changes. You're trying to maybe watch some film, depending on how big your team is. How if you've got the opportunity to sit with the defense and watch things while the offense is on the field, but you may not be well versed in this whole clock management thing because you're not the one out there doing it a lot. And now a very important game rides on it, like you said, in the half, into the game, whatever. So something we've always had like a NASCAR package. It seems like everywhere we go, that's the name for it,
Mm-hmm.
NASCAR. I assume just because race cars are fast, but that way we've cut the verbiage back down to like 1 through 6, and we just know those numbers are a play, and it doesn't correlate to anything else we're going to run the rest of the night. So even if you figured out our number system, number 1 is nothing like 57, but it's the same play maybe, right? But I'm not screaming even 57 anymore. I think another real big deal, and you've said communicate a lot in this portion of this episode, and I think that's great because you do need to communicate a ton. That's how you get through these crazy adversities, right? But also communicating with your kids, what is that mindset? Because they are Madden players if they've played any football, and they are expecting like, oh, we're about to chunk the rock. And so telling them that why, right? Communicating, and that way they don't make a dumb mistake. It seems like every year you watch some team that you're probably rooting for, but hopefully it's your rival. And a guy catches the ball at the end of the half, and instead of getting out of bounds, he fights for 3 extra yards. And cool, maybe he got a first down on first down, but he couldn't stop the clock, or it burned off that extra 5 seconds that we needed to go do something else. So really communicating what those expectations are. What's your philosophy? What's your mindset as a coach? It doesn't have to be what Joe's is. It doesn't have to be take the dinks and dunks and just work the field. It could be shoot them now, right? We're gonna
Oh, there's gonna be a mix of everything. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, we're gonna go good on good, whatever it is right here, and just see if we can't go. You talked about being behind or needing to conserve clock, but maybe you're trying to go for that kill shot at half to put just make a team roll over, right? I
Sure.
mean, it's
Yeah.
whether it's
Like I said, you have to know the
there's a
situation.
ton of situations, and you need to practice all of those. I think having a plan, it isn't 1 2-minute drill plan. We don't have one plan. You need to have it all, I feel like, and practice them. So
I think you need to be playing these scenarios out in your head. You need to know who you are. I always think it's funny when just coaches are like, oh, "This is who we're going to be." It's like you don't know who you're going to be. You got to figure out and who you are from game to game is going to be different. You're an underdog, or you're playing the top team. It's like we're just going to go out and do our thing. It's like, okay, I mean, to an extent, I'm that way, but I also need to know the situation. When I go, if I'm playing a team that we're better than, and I know we're 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns better than them, it's a race to 35. That's my mentality. Now, we're still execute all of that sort of stuff, but like onside kicks, going after takeaway, we're aggressive because it's a long season. I want this thing salted away, and I want to get my backups in. And the way to do that is to get that running clock as fast as possible. But if I'm playing a team that we are evenly matched, I'm not going out there thinking race to 35. I'm thinking, attacking their weaknesses, looking at what they give us, so all sorts of things, more base. And then if I am, and we've done this many times, if I am outmatched, and again, the last 3 years we've been outmatched in a number of games, less games than we used to be, thanks to athletic speed and movement a lot, but and Dale, but also, our kids getting better and our kids understanding the game, our coaches, getting better. Getting some better coaches in, it was pretty hard the first year to get anybody who wanted to coach there. I mean, we had one guy who'd been there, and a few guys who were like, then start to win a little bit, and people want that job. Again, when it's a coach killer job, nobody wants it. We get some coaches in, we get some better players in, we get some development in the weight room, which is still lagging behind, but getting better. The speed happens a lot faster. But we play a team that's 4 touchdowns better than us. And I use that 4 touchdowns because the common wisdom has always been, if a team is 4 touchdowns better than you, you're not going to beat them. Or you shouldn't. My old head coach classified things into could win, should wins, and shouldn't wins. And a shouldn't win is they're 4 touchdowns better. Doesn't mean you don't put the same effort into it, but you have a different plan. And that's where you're like, if I can take the air out of the football, keep it close, and give us a shot at the end, that's a good day. Yeah. Because for the last 10 years, this team has beaten us by 50 every single time. And if it's 21-14, it's not the outcome we necessarily dream of, but it ain't bad.
Right.
And when you're building a program, that's kind of what the mentality is. When you're 0-10, you ain't thinking about putting 35 on anybody. When you're coming off an 0-10 year, think about how can I give us a shot to win this game, and that should be your right mentality on every game. How can I give us a shot to win this game? So you have to have that. You play these scenarios out in your head, and you have to have a plan for what is this? What are we trying to do in this game? And again, like you said, the scenario of we've been on both sides of the coin. I've been on both sides of the coin. It's 7-0 going into the half. We've got the football. There's a minute and a half left. We can go into the half 7-0 and come out, get the football, and have some momentum, and be all right. Or we're up 7-0 going into the half. This is bad. We should be up 28-0. We need to go down the field and score right now to capture some momentum going into the half.
Right.
2 different sides of the coin.
There are so many sides to that proverbial 2-sided coin. We got a die of some kind now. But so this last question can be a little convoluted. Do what?
A dodecahedron.
Yes. Magic the Gathering. No, Dungeons and Dragons. That's the one.
Yeah, nailed it. Yeah.
Let's roll. So this last question is a little bit more convoluted, a little bit more complex, but what are your key pieces? So I guess regardless of situation, you're making that practice shell that we talked about 2 years ago or whatever for your 2-minute thing going through whatever, week 5. What are the key pieces that you really focus on getting onto that practice shell or that plan?
One of the first things is treat this like a special team. It's an extension of your offense, but just like 2-point conversions are special teams, goal line is really a special team just in general. And even to an extent, red zone is a specialty area. It's a specialty area of your call sheet. Those are quote unquote special teams. And all of these things are, and the offensive play caller system will be closed by the time that this episode comes out, but it's coming out actually tomorrow as of us recording. And the offensive play caller system, we talk about why we don't want to use down and distance as a primary way of deciding what we're going to call. Well, that's the norm. When the shape of the field changes, the size of the field changes, the dimensions change, the play calling has to change. That's red zone offense. That's goal line offense. That's 2-point conversions. When the time situation changes, also when the turnover situation changes, which is 3rd or 4th down, but when the time situation changes, which is we've got to go faster, we've got to work sidelines, we've got to do essentially the dimensions of the field change. The desire to go in the middle of the field is pretty low. The desire to hand the ball off is pretty low. The desire to work the sidelines is pretty high. The desire to get first downs, the desire to move the ball down the field is very high. We're not playing a field position game or anything like that. So in those situations, it is essentially, you talk goal line, you talk 2-point conversion, you talk red zone, and you talk end of half, end of game, 2-minute drill, 4-minute drill is another. Those are essentially a special team, but it's an extension of your offense. So I'm not going to install an entirely new offense for it because I don't have that kind of time to work on this. Remember, most of the season, I'm not going to use this. Most games, I'm not going to use this. If I'm up 28-0 and I have the ball with a minute and a half left, I can use it. But really, what am I doing? I'm using it. I'm using it to get to 35. Right. I want to use it, but it's not the same. It's not the same pressure. It's not the same. It's more like, let's practice it right now. Obviously, we want to get to 35, but let's practice this right now. If I'm looking at this, goal line's the same way, by the way. Some coaches spend a lot of time on goal line. Red zone's, a bigger zone. We spend more time in it. Goal line's the same way. I break down a lot of film. I have 300 or 400 hours sitting over there right now, and I delete a lot of film too. If I can't use it, I delete it for various reasons, whether it's bad film or it's not a competitive situation or whatever. I don't use it. A lot of our coaches, when they first come in, there's so much work to be done that I watch the film in this. Until they've been in the system for a little bit. I got a lot of film though, and when I go to find goal line clips, there aren't many. You'd be amazed. I don't know the average. I've never figured it out, but I would guess that it's less than 10 in a season. You'll go games without being in a goal line situation. And when I say less than 10 plays, less than 10 snaps, not including 2-point conversions, obviously. So, and remember, you're usually doing 3 or 4 of them at a shot, if you don't get in, or sometimes you do one, you might run it one time and you're in. That's the end of the goal line. Like, we're in a goal line situation, it's 1st and goal from the 3. Boom, we hand it off, we score, one play, out. That's your only goal line situation for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever. End of half, end of game, 2-minute drill is the same way. It might come up 3 or 4 times in a year. So I can't have a whole different offense ready for it. I can't have. I've got to use elements of my playbook in this situation. And again, it's the same deal. We go end of half. We're trying to get down the field. Maybe the first, let's say we get in that situation 4 or 5 times. Let's say we can do it 5 times. All right, one of them, bam, complete it, score first play. Great. One, we go 3 and out. Got to punt it. Couple of them, we get a first down and get down. One of them, we execute it the way that you dream of. A couple of them, we just kind of, the clock runs out or on us or whatever. And then one, as we get down the field and with no time left, we get that ball in the end zone and score. Maybe we got 2 seconds left. We got to go kick a squib kick. And that happens once out of the 5. So how much time can I put into that? Well, on the one hand, you go, that's going to happen once, and that's good. A lot of times it won't happen at all. Now, we did score twice. I did say that, but it happened once the way the way you work on it, perfect Thursday or whatever. Twice, 40% is not bad on that actually. How much time do I want to put into it? You might think like not that much, but again, 2 of those won us a game, or one of those won us a game, right? So that's, I always talk about JDFP, and if you look at JDFP and it's X amount of dollars, I don't want to date the podcast, but you can go look and see how much it is. It's not cheap, but if you've ever felt real bad after a close loss, you would have paid it then.
No doubt.
Like, you would have paid it then.
You don't ever have an answer.
So, you would have paid it then. You would have done that fundraiser. You would have gotten the boosters, or you would have gotten the funding from the mean old lady that's in your financial office. She seems nice, but she's real mean when you go and ask her for money. And you would have still dealt with it. So it's worth the investment of time then. To me, it's something that should be worked every Thursday. And if there are plays that you don't work a lot, I would work it again during the week. The plays, and this is where it's hard for us, because we're not always great at, like I said, we have plays that we're good at and plays that are our plays and plays that aren't. The obvious play is deep out in our offense, right? As far as working the sidelines. So the first play that's a key for us is deep out, which is called on the sideline, and it's a 12-yard route basically. So it's going to get a first down. It's going to be called at the sideline. It's probably going to go out of bounds. So it's the ideal play for this. And it's very much a pre-snap read a lot of times, because guys will line up too far off, especially in that situation. Guys will line up too far off. I love seeing a guy 8 yards off. It's just like a hitch. It's like, fantastic. Let's go. I don't want to see cover 2, but we don't very much. I prefer not to see press, but we can still get it in that situation. Modify the route. So deep out for us, which is our 54 and 55 pass, is always in. And we have a hand signal for that. Hitch and fade will usually be in. Hitch, again, sometimes you just want to just catch and throw, get the ball out, especially if you're having trouble pass protecting, especially if they will play far off to play for the fade. I'll take a hitch and get us out of bounds, or get down, see if we can win a one-on-one. I don't, obviously we don't love the hitch. We will run fade. What I prefer to run is 60 up HY out, so that it gets the bench concept. So we're going to get fade routes on the outside. We're going to get out routes on the inside. And that's going to give us, that's a bench concept. It's a quarters beater. It's going to be that's going to be one that's going to probably be in there. 60 up HY out. So we'll have those. A lot of times we'll have curl in, which might seem like a kind of a surprise, because it is thrown outside, basically on the numbers, the main route, and then the shoot route we can catch underneath and try to get a catch and run on the shoot route. What a lot of times we'll have, though, is not is curl, but we'll also try to hit a curl and then try to tag a wheel later on in the sequence and try to throw a wheel down the field to see if we can get that. Curl wheel is a good shot play in our arsenal, and a lot of times it gives us a chance on that. Trying to think if there's anything of the passing game that I've missed. We will usually have some kind of a screen, and for us, it's usually an alley screen. Alley screen is our best. When we've been better at our screen, the last year it was Y screen, which is a slip screen, but caught towards the middle of the field. When we've been better at our screen, I prefer to get an R screen in here to throw like the middle, the traditional middle screen. It's one of those that is just like, if everybody is bailing out, and especially in those situations where we've got a timeout available, everybody's dropping, try to get a little quick screen over the middle. The other one that we'll use, and this has been a lot of our 2-minute drill stuff because he's our best ball carrier, is quarterback draw. When I didn't want to run my quarterback, he could have run, but I couldn't have survived if he got hit. We ran regular draw with the running back. But so draw some sort of screen, deep out, fade, or 60 up HY out. Sometimes hitch just to have a quick throw to get the ball out, or look, to just look is a good one. Bubble is a good one if you're going to throw something underneath, because you're probably going to get to catch that with space if they're not going to press you. So that's a way to get the ball out real quick and pick up 5 yards, 6 yards. Let's say it's third and let's say it's 2nd and 2, and you just want to get a first and keep it moving, something like that. Curl and curl wheel concepts are usually in. All of our route concepts are mirrored, which is important to understand. So we will only use a one formation, and that's really important for this. Whatever the package is that we want, if we, depending on who the tight end is, who the H-back is, we have to determine who we want to be, because we still have a check release. If you try to cover 0 and blitz us, we still are protecting with 7. So who do we want to be in the check release for the H and Y in our package? Because you will not just pin your ears back and get to us. We'll protect with 7, and then find an opening. So who do we want to be in? So then what we have to do is we have to say, okay, for us, let's say the formation is going to be Pro 2. Well, if the Y is the best check release pass protector and the H is a better receiving threat, then all of our calls have to be to the left. Pro 2 puts the tight end to the right and the H to the left. All of our calls have to be setting the call side to the left, because the backside, and that's the side the R protects, the running back protects, because the backside H or Y has the check release. And so if I want the Y to be the check release, I gotta make sure all of my calls are to the left.
Right.
And so, these are the things that we have to think about, and then we have to go out and we have to work this stuff. Now, in a year where we're really good at deep out, I don't have to spend as much time on this. In a year where we're not that good at deep out, guess what? We better get good at deep out, because we have to be able to throw it in this situation. We have to be able to take the shot. And that's over and over and over again been our best play in this situation. That and Q draw again. Everybody drops out, pull it down and take off, get 15 yards and use our timeout, or whatever the situation. And then how we, again, in the practice plan, every Thursday, for sure. A lot of times what we will do is we will end, what I prefer to do, I don't like the script. I like to script it myself. And I will script it myself, but I don't like the perfect Thursday deal and all that sort of stuff. It's a practice. I like to wear pads. I like to go out there and run it like a practice. It's a little lighter, but the last part will be the 2-minute drill offense, and we'll go down the field and run the 2-minute drill. We'll kick a squib kick. We'll, hey, we recovered it, and then we go out and run victory formation, because we just always ended on victory formation or something. You just make stuff up. But I don't like the script. So yeah, we'll work it, and then again, if I need it, if we need to work on it, I'll work it Tuesday, Wednesday.
So you talked about a few route concepts there. How much are you looking at what defense your opponent runs to script certain plays, and how much is it we're going to do what we do to get the ball to the edge and get out of bounds? And you talked about a quarters beater, and we all know that there's cover 2 beaters, cover 3 beaters. So are we trying to find your fade ball with an out, your bench concept, but in a different configuration that beats a cover 2, so that you can actually get that thrown open maybe a little deeper?
I can't tell you what we do against a cover 2, because we haven't seen it in that situation very much. Now in that cover 2, the bench concept will be fine. So we like the bench concept, the 60 up HY out. Deep out would not be good, but the 60 up HY out would give us really an opportunity to, either that corner is going to go with the fade or we're going to throw the out. But one of the hardest things is, again, I don't know what you're going to do in that situation, because it's probably not on film, realistically. And if I have it on film, then I look at it and I go, well, they got torched.
Right.
So half the time it didn't work. We're probably not going to do that again. Like, if let's say that they're a heavy man team, a heavy cover 0 blitz team, and they got destroyed. Oh, are they going to come out in quarters next time? Cover 4, spot drop cover 4.
Right.
Are they going to come? They're probably, and a lot of this is, most teams don't run cover 2. Most teams won't run 0 in this situation. Most won't run 0 in this situation. Most teams won't run 3 in this situation. So what do we get? 2-man or quarters. If you run 2-man, we're going to run a lot of quarterback draw, right? Screens. We're going to get everybody turning their back, and we're going to Not that we can't throw against 2-man, but there's nothing that's like great against two. What do you like to run against 2-man? It's like, well, Smash. I didn't mention Smash, by the way. And the reason I didn't mention Smash is we've not been good at it.
You always say you're not very good at throwing corner routes, right? Like
we just have not been good at it. And I can't figure it out. I don't know. Somebody's gonna have to know more than me.
you send your film to someone, and maybe they'll do a game film analysis for you.
Maybe we didn't run it very much at Amelia when we could have thrown it because nobody ran quarters or cover 2. And we have a little bit more opportunity. Probably one of the reasons is 4 out of 5 games is there's not even a point. They're in cover 3 or they're in man. But against 2-man, I would love. So this goes 2-man. What do we like to run in 7-on-7? Well, your picks and your rub routes and that sort of stuff underneath in 7-on-7, slant shoot and that sort of stuff. 2-point pass is actually a good one for us, and that'll be available, which is a double slant shoot kind of route. Everybody runs it on goal line. Crossing routes, we can do, but those things don't help you much in this situation.
Right.
I'd like to run Smash and run a guy who's maybe not my primary ball carrier, but put him out there at R and sprint him straight down the middle of the field, match up with your Mike linebacker and hit a shot and score. That'd be great. It's an ideal world. 7-on-7, we do that. And the only reason I know that at Amelia we could have thrown it was because in 7-on-7 we did. But we didn't need it in games. There are situations where if a play, so one example is against the quarters team we like to run, and Poco's also not been a great one for us. Post corner route was a double move. It's not been a great one for us, so it could be something we could run. But against quarters teams, we've run more of a post corner with a dig route. So maybe we could run that and say, hey, just look to hit try to hit the single post corner on the single receiver side and just try to run a shake there and make it work. We could do stuff like that if we've been working it in practice and it's looked good. We could add that in. But in general, the 2-minute package is the package. Yeah. Now, like I said, we have signals for those. But I can call just about anything by just yelling out the number, and you're not going to know. By the way, NASCAR, I think, came from Tony Franklin's system.
Okay. I assumed someone had come up with it because everywhere I've been, we had a NASCAR.
That was the first place I heard it, but it could have come from somewhere else. I'm sure somebody else did it. It just means we're going to go fast. NASCAR and Indy, one of those two things.
So kind of the last question here. I have a question about, like, you talk about running it, you want to run quarterback draw. In my mind, like, teams are either gap or zone, and I understand you're probably not running to the field, although we like to run to the field because you don't want to get tackled in the field, right? If you run to the boundary, at least you have an opportunity to step out of bounds if the play begins to fall apart. Zone is great, but we never have an answer for a safety. You're just hoping they take a bad angle or they're going to fit where they're supposed to, and then you're going to cut it back where they aren't anymore.
Oh, we don't block the corner, so we're going to go block the safeties. That's our answer.
Okay.
We don't have an answer for your corner. Like, if all your secondary can tackle, then yeah, we don't have an answer.
I think about gap scheme. So you start running, think about counter, old school GT counter even.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about needing to keep backside in pass pro. So now we're not even changing that in case they want to be really focused on a Y or an H backside. And now we're just running GT counter. Yeah, it hits up inside, but now we've eliminated their edge player. We've eliminated their corner from the tackling mix because they're outside the kick man and we don't care. We're bringing a lot of bodies to the party, hoping to pick up all those dudes. And maybe, I guess, you still get back into that one-on-one with a safety, but it just seems like a safer way to run the ball, get it to the boundary, give your back a chance to get some yards, get out of bounds. Is that just as, I don't say just as good, but you're talking about throwing a hitch. You're talking about throwing curls, something where guys are dead-footed anyway. can we just be on the run, on the move with some blockers, kind of heading that same variant, or is the running, unless we're catching, like you said, running draws against 2-man where everyone's back is turned, is running kind of out of the mix here? Does it get to a certain point in the field? I mean, obviously timeouts changes everything, right? How many timeouts you got?
Well, that's the biggest thing is like, yeah, you can still, hey, we've got 3 timeouts, we can still run the ball. Now I should say when we throw hitch or curl, in general, we're not trying to throw curl as much as we're trying to hit the shoot underneath the flat route that's going to be
Right.
to the sideline. Hitch is the same deal. I want something as a catch and throw, and I want you to be 9 yards off, where I have the chance to catch it and then break to the outside. You better not come back to the inside with it. Right. But this is my thing with hitch has always been, and this is what I don't get with the run game. So this is why I'm coming back to this. If I catch a hitch and you're playing me inside leverage, I catch it outside shoulder, I turn to the outside. If I have the guy, and I probably have one that I could maybe do it with, in each year. If I have a guy, sometimes I've had 2. One time I had 3. That was pretty cool. If I have somebody that can win that one, that can make the catch, break the tackle, he's gone. Right? Because it's just him in the corner out there. Maybe if you're too high, there's a safety coming over, but he's going to be out of bounds. So he can still get out of bounds. It's a 20-yard gain. So that's situationally what I like. Now, what I like about a hitch is I can just catch and throw it and, get the ball out. And then and a hitch also converts to a fade if you decide to press me. So again, are you off or are you up? I'm not throwing a traditional hitch where he's 7 yards off. Like that's not the goal when it's in there. The goal is he's far off, I can catch it and I can run that way to the sideline, get 4 or 5 or 6 or maybe break it, nail that thing down. Or
I was just listening. Joe continues. He's kicked his camera, so I just get the weeble wobble.
yeah.
It's pretty
Or so with the run, the thing about it is if I'm starting it with a running back in the backfield, there's a lot of guys that have leverage to get to him, including one who's outside. And if they're not going to just turn and run in 2-man, if it's 2-man, then sure, whatever. If they all just turn and run. But if it's a traditional run play, what I like about draw is I get everybody to drop. A traditional run play is probably out here, unless I have timeouts, because everybody's eyes are on me, and it's going to be real hard to get to the sideline. Maybe I could run a toss, but is that better than a bubble where, I have a corner out there blocking for him? And the ball is getting to the perimeter faster, or a look screen, which are, those are essentially screens. So, which to me, it's not. So no, I'm probably looking at these being out. And one of the frustrating things is if you're in a situation where I'll just give you an example. I've had some coaches, and I've been in some situations too, where we don't really have down the field passing outside of play action. Well, now it doesn't make any sense to play action it, but that's the only thing that you've got. That's why you have to have a plan for this. Is like, well, the only thing I have is, a play action. I go back to Madden, and like not Madden, but old school NCAA football coming out in May. So let's get excited. Old school NCAA football where you're in a hurry and you're just like, you see the route that you want and you're like, bam, let's go. I mean, I'm in a 2-minute drill, you're playing against a real person, not the computer. And you get out there and the quarterback goes into the slow play action. And that their defensive end is just screaming off the edge because that's the guy that he's controlling. And it's like, well, this was bad. Like that's where it gets you in trouble. And it's like, that's where it gets you in trouble. And it's like, it makes sense. I think traditional run game is in general out again, unless you have timeouts. Screens and draws work better because I get you bailing out and I get some space out there.
And one last question before we'll start closing out. I said that last time, I think, but here we are. Is this the position where you start breaking out your trick plays? You start your
Unless I feel really good about it. This is it's this is not the time for the trick play. Maybe end of half, not end of game for me. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to have like one trick play, and I'm going to pull it out early because if not, I'm afraid that I'm going to go home without using it.
right.
And so
It always happens.
the second time that I run it, if I feel if it's not a trick play that has like a high risk factor, maybe. But like, am I going to run double reverse pass? Well, man, that's a lot of handoffs and tosses, and then a guy who shouldn't be throwing the ball, and like maybe. And I know we can talk about Philly special and that sort of stuff. That play, like take Philly special as an example. What was that play designed for? That exact situation.
Right.
Then yes, I pull it out. Sure. I've been working on this play. We worked it every Thursday in practice just for the one chance that we might have it. Sure. It's like, are you going to run the miracle kickoff return? Absolutely. Is it a good idea? Not any other time, but in this moment in time, it's the only idea. So if I have a play that I've been working on for this specific situation, sure. I don't do that many trick plays, so probably not. We Bill Blankenship on the podcast, and I talked about all the trick plays that I learned from him in a clinic, and he said, "Those are Gus Malzahn's. I've never run them again." Right? I don't want to do any of that. So if you're Malzahn, probably. If you're me or you Bill Blankenship, basically the same guy.
Basically,
yeah, a couple more rings, but then probably not, because you want execution here, and you want to. I want to believe enough in my offense that the things that I have are going to work, because they're the things that we have and the things we're good at, and give us a shot. Because I want to get 3 or 4 shots at it. Like I want to figure out how can I get into the red zone and take 3 or 4 legitimate shots at scoring. And that's where, or kick field goal or whatever the case may be. So if I think that a trick play might be more likely to end up in a turnover, then this isn't the time for it. This is the first thing that popped in my head when you said it, and then I went off on another thing. This is the time where kids are tired. This is the time where kids are nervous, where kids are amped up, and a play that we only worked on a handful of times. Here's another one to think about, because this has come up. We worked on trick play. What did we work on trick play? How many times we run the trick play? We ran it, we put it in at the end of practice on Wednesday. We had our starters out there. We worked on it, and it looked good. We ran it once. It was a disaster. We went through, we fixed it. We ran it second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time. It looked good. We went on Thursday and we ran it again during that practice once in the script, whatever. We try to run it at the end of the game because this is a great situation for it. But one of our receivers is hurt. The guy that's in there doesn't know where to line up. He doesn't know his route. He doesn't know his job. Blah, 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 blah. That happens a lot. There's not, just quite frankly, there's not a lot of 11-man football games that are close enough to be a fight at the end that all 11 of your starters are in the game, focused, and ready to execute that play that you ran 5 times this week at a high level. So my general inclination is run it at the beginning of the second quarter when everybody's still in there and a little bit fresh, and give it a shot. And hopefully you won't have to do this at the end.
Love it. Sweet, man. Let's close her down and get out of here. Pay the bills real quick. Join.joedanielfootball.com. Jump over there. And as far as I know, you're still getting access for $1. Get your 7-day trial. Jump in. Check out whatever defense you think you want to run next year. And understand that you need to be looking at this for the next... Well, it's February. This will come out in March. And we have a long time till football season. 26 Saturdays or something. So I think I saw a graphic today. 28 Saturdays till football season. But it's a long time. Get in Joe Daniel football, figure out what it is you want to run, get really good at it, share it with your crew, right? You buy the package, you add your coaches for free. So it is a system that you buy for your entire football team, your entire staff to get better.
Platinum coaches get to add their staff.
Go platinum. I mean, that's the only way to go, really. Game film analysis is one of the key factors of platinum as well. And that's, guys, it's a whole new weapon. You send off your film. No one on this side of the microphone is going to break down your film for you in downs and distances and hashes. And you send in your broke down film or not. It depends on how much you want, really, how much feedback you want.
I don't have to have, I just need a ODK.
Joe and the guys are going to check it out. They're going to pick out the low-hanging fruit, and they're going to send you back some updates and let you go have an actionable problem to fix. And you're going to go out and you're going to do that plan. And then next week, when you have given up less touchdowns or scored more points, you get to do it all over again. For the eternity of the year, continue sending film in all year. It doesn't matter. It doesn't stop when football season does. So take advantage of that. Go out and get that. There's some other options out there. Chalkboard forum, go in and ask your questions. It's always open. So it's, everybody's been on a forum in the football world, I feel like. Usually chasing jobs or seeing who's talking crap in their local area. That's not what this is. This is more like-minded people that want to get better. So jump over there. That's join.joedanielfootball.com. Like Joe said earlier, joedanielfootball.com/rules. Check out those 40 rules of that every coach kind of needs to understand before they step into the next season. Sales open and closing. I think you said offensive play caller series, right? Been open for about 2 weeks. Is that what you said?
Well, no, that'll be closed. Yeah, that'll be closed at this point. At the end of March, we will have the game film masterclass opening up for enrollment. So that is all about breaking down your game film, self-scouting, scouting your opponents, and the workflow for that.
Which is a huge topic right now in all of the football world, as it's an ever-changing, ever-evolving thing. So, jump over there and check that out. If you're not getting the emails, get signed up. Social media, I am at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter/X. You can also email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. I love talking ball. I'm a biology teacher by trade, but I definitely check my email and just wait for new football things to come up. Joe, you can find him at Joe Daniel Football on Facebook or at Football Info on Twitter X, and then at Joe Daniel Football on Instagram and TikTok. We're ticking the talks now. The podcast is at the FBCP on X and Twitter. If this is your first time listening to Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on your favorite podcatcher. Spotify and Apple Podcasts can be the biggest two. If you're listening there and you've been listening for a while and you like what you're hearing, man, leave us a review. We like 4 and 5 star ratings, of course. Everybody does. If it isn't a 5-star, let us know why. Let us know what we can do better to improve the podcast for you, something you want to listen to. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. Remember, coach simple, play fast, win.